I've said for a while now that I'm really, really wanting to get into the whole podcast thing and to talk to real people and to be able to create sort of conversations of integrity and to find out how we can all support each other and build networks of community. And someone who is I'm very fond of who's joining us today on one of our sort of preemptive chapters of the podcast is a man called Sam Neffendorf. Welcome, Sam.
Hey Danny, nice to see you. How's it going?
It's going all right, Sam. It's going all right.
Good. Yeah.
And Sam's going to talk to us about what Sam does, right? I just see Sam as a bit of a magic man, right? I don't really go any deeper than that because I just think he's a guy who's got a lot of good energy, who is able to heal people, or actually, which he's going to say to you, he's able to help you heal yourself. So
Yeah.
there's lots of techniques that Sam uses to be able to do that, and really today is just about sort of uncovering some of that, because probably like myself, Sam, people are probably not familiar, or they've heard the terms, but they're not familiar with the definitions or the understanding of what that actually means.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Well, I want to start with just something that you said in that introduction, which I think is really important, is that you used the word magic.
Oh yeah,
And there is what I'm noticing that there's a lot of people out there who are working in what you could call the healing arts or supporting people in their healing process. And there's a real rush to try and justify it in a scientific way and go, oh, look, we've been able to show how it calms the amygdala or supports people in actually being able to reduce anxiety by 25% in peer-reviewed studies or whatever it is. And, there's definitely a place for that. And it's good that people are doing that work to show people the rationale and the scientific side behind things. But I like to also see that there is more going on than meets the eye. And we do live in a world where actually we can bring more magic into it. And sometimes the things that actually happen when when we work with people, and if you call it work, and if it's work, is working from within, but it can also be really playful and enjoyable at the same time as deeply profound. They can't necessarily be explained by the conventional way of looking at things.
mm,
And yeah, so just even deconditioning away from that, things having to be like seen in this rational
explain.
viewpoint and moving into the wonder and amazingness of how life can be.
Mm.
So it's great that you started out with that concept of magic man, not a million miles away from what if my dad talks to people about what I do, he just says he's a witch doctor.
So it's-
Yeah.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what does that look like then? Like, I mean, like for example, I've got Sam had a wonderful event the other day, which was called Comunidad.
Immunidad, Paula Comunidad, so immunity in the community rhymes in both languages,
Perfect.
which is
Always a
great.
little
Yeah,
bonus, little Brucey bonus.
absolutely.
And on it, like one of the things it says, activate your natural healing potential with Sam Neffendorf. And then it goes through a list of things that you work with, like or
Mm,
skills that you've got available to you, techniques that you've got available to you. So I would just
yes.
like to because this stuff to me, if I'm honest, apart from the human design, and I know a tiny bit about German New medicine,
Yes.
EFT
Mm,
or tapping, as they sometimes call it.
that's right.
Could you just explain it to us, please? Because, like, as a newbie, I'd imagine there's lots of people in the audience who are watching this going, like, "What the fuck does that mean?"
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Because yeah, my sort of esoteric way into the conversation. But yeah, so if we look at EFT, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's also often just known as tapping. And really, what it is, it's combining two things. It's combining psychology, really focused on connecting people to their emotions very deeply, alongside Chinese acupressure. So, if you think about the points where an acupuncturist might put a needle with tapping, I'll just show you a few of them now. We're actually tapping very gently on the same point, so you can do it without the needles, and at the same time would be talking in a way to actually get people feeling emotion about what they've got going on in their life at the moment, which then leads back to things that have happened to them in the past. And so it's got a brilliant range of ways you can use it, from just calming and regulating your nervous system and your emotions in the now, very easy and quick to learn how to use that, right the way through to using it as a bridge to get back to deeply, even buried traumatic memories,
Mm.
and helping people to change their sort of subconscious relationship with those memories, so that it's not that they forget them, um or that they're gone, but they no longer have an energetic effect on the body and on the nervous system, and on therefore on the actions and the beliefs that that person has from that point forwards.
Mm.
A simple way of putting it, because of course it doesn't just happen in seconds like that, but it can still be very, very quick and effective to actually go in quite gently as well, but dealing with very serious and heavy things, which normally you might not even be able to access while you're conscious. Like same sorts of places that hypnotherapist could take you to in a trance while you're fully awake, and then change the relationship with them in ways that are, yeah, there's some similarities, but it will also be unique to each individual how that happens.
Mm. And so is that sort of like we're talking like a release from the pain body?
You can see it that way. Yeah, if the pain body is everything that's built up over time, the accumulation of the traumas, which are the impact on the body, nervous system, energy, etc., of past events, and also patterns and all the things that you made that mean, based on what you've thought, or not even really thought about it, what the 4-year-old self, for example, interpreted this situation to mean, and then it started to become beliefs, which then repeat over and over again. Yeah, you're starting to release it.
Mm.
So yeah, you could look at it from that pain body perspective. I think that's how Eckhart Tolle
Yeah.
describes it, right? Yeah.
But I feel for myself, like, because I always speak from experience, how I feel about my
Mm.
body. I feel like there are blockages within me that cause certain ailments, and
Yeah.
I feel that's something in me that has gone on in traumatic episodes of my younger life that has held itself in my body, and I sometimes see it's very popular now, this sort of somatic
Yes.
release, and you see it in wildlife, don't you? Like if there's
Mm.
an animal has been in a traumatic situation, they go and they do this like mad shaking thing, and it releases that blockage or that sort of field away from the body.
Shake it out, baby. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that, and animals do that, but we are animals, of course, but we are extremely domesticated. So to the point that we can't just walk down the road and start shaking when suddenly something comes up for us. But
Just
you
have a
can
bit of a
tap.
breakdown in the dairy aisle
Yeah, absolutely.
in the
Start shouting
local.
at the cheese or whatever. So, but you can tap, and there's different ways that you can do it. Even, and there's like one that I show people is this like stealth tapping. So you can take this one with you anyway. You don't even
Yeah.
have to do the full range of body points. And yeah, but so it's interesting you mentioned, yeah, somatic. That's a very popular these days. Well, tapping is somatic because you are
Mm.
working on the body at the same time as focusing on the specific events, emotions, behaviors, beliefs, whatever it is, decisions you have to make and how they feel. It's also another um, buzzword about it, shadow work as well, because we focus in on the uncomfortable, the negative, the limiting, rather than trying to just positive power through. We go into those uncomfortable, unspoken areas, and yeah, and I guess well, there's lots of different ways to. I do it with quite a lot of sort of humorous truth. So I point out the truth in things to people in a light way so that they can see it and sort of melt the pattern at the same time as they're doing the tapping. But it's you can find within those dark, disowned parts of you that there's real gifts in there actually. It's not just about letting it go. It's about seeing how it's actually formed some good sides to your character and some potential for you, as well as yeah, it might have been a limitation or something that you felt shamed or embarrassed about and didn't want to get in touch with in the past, but you can see it in a different way. So
Yeah, if you just as you said that word shame, I felt that word,
mm,
and I
it's
feel
a
that
biggie.
it's a massive one, isn't it, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I find as soon as you, anyone watching this as well, like as soon as you feel that word shame, because you've all been made to feel shamed in
Mm,
our lives, especially probably as children, because lots of stuff
yeah.
that our parents can't cope with in certain aspects. That word, like as soon as you feel it, it makes me feel tense. It makes me feel like
Yeah.
there's stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I wonder in terms of like the tapping, like is that you're there as a guidance to people?
Mm.
Are you actually doing the tapping, or are they doing the tapping themselves?
So it can work either way. If I'm in the room with someone, generally I would be facing opposite them and they would be mirroring my tapping or doing their own tapping. But if I am there with them, I can offer to do the tapping on them and maybe take them a bit deeper. But mostly I'm working with people in this situation across a call, and they can just mirror the tapping, and it's actually because they're in their own comfortable environment. They don't there's not that stress of having to get somewhere or be somewhere. Actually, it can be really great for them, unless the environment they're in is the trigger for their problem, which can be the case sometimes. So it can be that things are going on at home, for example, an abusive relationship or something, where they can have a session, but they might not feel safe in their own place, or they're then just immediately re-triggered, looped back into the trauma just by being there. So, but generally, people feel good working in their own space as well, and they're just mirroring the tapping. You can actually learn to do the tapping in a few minutes, but it's really the guy, and you can do a lot on your own as well. So, yeah, if anyone wants it who's watching this, there's a free thing they can just download from my website with 6 videos which teach you how to do the basics. But then most people, including me, we've all got blind spots where the subconscious won't let you look at your own stuff because it's trying to protect you, which it doesn't really care about your happiness, just wants to keep you safe. So it is great to work with someone who can spot those things and feed them back to you, and support you in that way.
No. You mentioned like Chinese acupressure.
Yes,
And would you say this is sort of like it's kind of been it's a hybrid of the acupressure and psychology?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was created in, I think it was 1995. This method came about with a guy called Gary Craig in America, and he was really interested in human potential. He studied something that was very new back then called NLP, and then he studied. He heard about this tapping technique called thought field therapy (TFT),
Mm.
and I've heard that when he studied that, it's used the same tapping points. When he studied that, it cost $100,000 to do that course, and he learned that, but he realized he could simplify it and use with that. They were doing different tapping routines for each ailment or emotion or whatever it was. So imagine they had a rule book about that big or something like that.
Yeah.
But with tapping, he realized that there was a way he could include every meridian, which is the lines that the acupuncture is working on, every meridian in one tapping routine, and then found actually that you don't even need to hit everyone. If you're moving energy between meridians while you're focused on the problem, then you're likely to get some insight, release, evolution of it, whatever it is from
Mm.
that. So,
And what kind of, I mean, what can it help with? Like if you were to like, is it like
Yeah.
anything at all?
The statement Gary Craig came out with was try it on everything. Often works when nothing else did. And back then it was like people were like, what is this? Like, what's this nonsense? And even now, when you start with someone, they tend to start laughing when you're first doing it, which is great because it's shifting the state, of course.
Mm,
But they yeah, but it was back then, it was the last thing they'd try when they'd been through everything else. They're like, oh, it worked. Right. And now it's quite well known. A lot of people are using tapping these days, and they might come to it more quickly even if it was the very last desperate thing that they came to. But that's what it was originally. For example, shame. So you mentioned shame there. So I see the biggies are blame, shame, guilt, and fear. And they are the big ones in all of our conditioning at home, which has gone through many generations, not particularly the fault of our parents, um, and yeah, there's some using it more than others, but it's followed down through the generations and from the society as well. And if you look at what happened in the last few years with all the guilt-inducing messaging, like kill your granny,
mm,
this kind of thing. It was all using shame and trying to get people to conform through what a bad person they would be if they didn't do these things.
yeah.
And you see that in all that messaging at all levels. So it can help you to decondition. First of all, you can break free from those spells. They're like hypnosis in a way that's been drilled into you over time. And then you could, so it's almost one way I see it sometimes. It's like a wake up, wake up, wake up, and then, oh yeah, like that's been like that. So changing beliefs about what's going on around you and bringing you back to more being yourself. It's great with things like anxiety, amazing with anxiety. It's great with anything that we call behavior patterns, which would have been called, they might call them mental health conditions or whatever, but we see them as adaptive behavior patterns that people have actually evolved into as a safety mechanism. So whether that's depression, keeping them safe by staying at home in the cave, as it would have been, anxiety, keeping them hyper vigilant for not going into situations where they feel powerless and going to get attacked. So those sorts of things. And then you can see like, some of the, for example, OCD patterns, keeping people safe as well. So anything that is like that, it can certainly benefit with. Physical health conditions as well. You mentioned ailments and that they might be coming from blockages that you were
Mm,
feeling. So from the perspective I see it, and this comes from the German New Medicine and meta consciousness, actually most symptoms we get are not a way of seeing it would be, oh, there's something bad going on. I've got a headache. That's bad. It
mm.
hurts.
It's
But
reinforcing the negative as well, isn't it?
yeah, it's actually the body trying to heal. Most times there's pain. The healing, there's all you've all the bad thing is over in a way, and your
There's been
body is,
resolution.
yeah, and it's in resolution. It's trying to resolve, but then the symptom can become its own cause because if we take muscular skeletal pain, for example, and then your back pain kicks in, you're like, oh, I'm getting old. I'm never going to be able to play football again or whatever it is. And then that's reinforcing the I'm not as good as I was, I'm not good enough, self-devaluation conflict that leads to muscular skeletal pain. So one of the things I like, of course, getting back to the root cause and understanding why the body came up with this adaptation in the first place and what it's trying to heal. But one of the things that holds most people back and even like I have healed a few of my own things over the last few years. And it's not easy, even with the knowledge I've got, to see that pain is not actually a bad thing.
Mm.
It's the body is trying to heal there. But when you're in it, it sucks. So it's getting to really, yeah, accept that, or breathing difficulties. And I'm not saying, by the way, people should ignore these things. Like, don't. It's There are some cases where the medical way is the way to go, and yeah, certainly in emergencies and things like that. But if something's ongoing, then you can look at these ways of exploring and sort of having some resolution to the ongoing symptoms as well. So, and there are loads more of other ways it can help. It can help with like actually one of the things that's most triggering to people is when they're trying to achieve something big in their life. So quite comfortable, quite content, happy with their life. But if they try and achieve what you could call a big goal,
Mm.
whatever that might be, whether it's something in their work, they want to build a self-employed business, or they're trying to do something in their community, or meet a new romantic partner or whatever, and then that just triggers all of their old fear, shame, not good enough type stuff as well. And so you can help through resolving those things. It can sort of pave the way for them to then be able to take action, not from a place of desperation or fear, but from a sort of self-aware way of moving forwards. So yeah, the try it on anything or try it on anything when nothing else works is actually still a great way to look at it.
You mentioned devaluation.
Yeah,
I find that even as much as I know about myself, I still like most people, I still have like the moments where you go, yes, I've broke through, I'm finally there, and all of a sudden you go,
yeah,
oh, again, big fat fucking self-doubt, self-loathing
yeah,
episode comes along, and it feels to me that just by like inviting or giving yourself the opportunity to do something like this is self-care, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. And you wouldn't be human if you didn't switch from feeling great to feeling
Mm.
this sort of self-doubt. And I remember one of the things that I read a while ago, and it was about specifically related to practitioners, therapists, whatever, that they actually, the self-doubt can actually make them better at what they're doing rather than just blasting their way through thinking that they're the best, God's gift, whatever. They can actually having that sort of ability to be humble, question themselves, doubt themselves, go inwards and explore what that's about is a good thing.
Mm.
So, and all there's no bad emotions really. Like fear serves a purpose. There are appropriate times to feel shame or guilt. Doesn't mean you have to hold on to them.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, I know. Otherwise, narcissist, psychopath, sociopath isn't going to have, and they've all got different ways of experiencing them, but they're not going to have access to all of those kinds of states,
Mm.
which can. There's reasons why you would want to feel, well, you wouldn't want to feel shame or guilt, but it would be appropriate to that and fear to get you out of a situation, for example.
Yeah, I mean, if you were standing in a really busy supermarket and there was a
Mm.
massive queue behind you and you had some very light tan trousers on, you shit yourself
Yeah.
in front of hundreds of people and everyone was pointing and laughing. I mean, I feel like there would be an element of shame there would be quite healthy.
Yeah, well, maybe. I was thinking more along the lines that you'd done something mean or horrible to somebody else, but yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
of
But
course.
in that case, you're doing something mean and horrible to yourself. So yeah. But if that did happen to you, like when you were a kid or whatever, and but actually that does bring a point. A lot of people I've worked with had experiences like that when they were a kid and maybe they felt they were slightly older than they should have been having that sort of thing happen.
Hmm,
And it's still resonating deep
absolutely.
within their inner child self, remembers the time when they shat themselves at a party
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, and everyone laughed at them, and yeah, so that's the sort of thing that you can release that attachment. You can help the younger inner child self to make peace with it, reintegrate their energy into your own, and then start. Then what's strange is it it subtly changes how you move forwards in life. You might take a risk you wouldn't have taken before, not a crazy risk, but something that what you wouldn't have been brave enough to do before. You might do it, ask someone out or whatever, or yeah, mate, or see a competitor as someone you might work with rather than as a threat. So
Mm,
it can just change those little things, and then you're going through life in the same way, but you're going through the same life, but you respond differently to things that happen
mm.
to you. And you look back on your life and go, oh, yeah, that happened because I went back and helped my 6-year-old to see that he wasn't a really bad, evil person for doing that after all. So,
So like if you say like these sessions, they're helping to dissolve the accumulation of fuckery and self-doubt and all of the shame and stuff we've been carrying around forever, which has then manifested itself in the physical body
yeah, physical or psychological.
or psychological, and then we're able to acknowledge that, recognize that, and then make peace with that.
Yeah, that's part of it. And there's a big word there, which is acceptance.
Mm,
And I find people don't like that word. They don't want to accept things they don't like because they've, again, been taught to believe that if you accept it, you're going to put up with it and you're going to just tolerate it forever. But that's not what accept means. Accept means you are acknowledging that is actually how it is in this moment. So
mm.
I accept the truth that there is, yeah, whatever going on. So I accept that the totalitarian system's trying to lock me up in my house.
No, it's not.
But
That's a conspiracy theory.
not now. As you know, we didn't particularly accept that one around these parts, but
No.
but they yeah, so you accept what is, accepting what is, and then that can change it strangely. Things can shift just from the acceptance, but it also can give you then got the opportunity to really take action without having your fingers in your ears and pretending that it's not going on.
Hmm. I mean, for me when I start thinking or feeling like acceptance for myself, right? The
Yeah,
thing that comes over me is accountability
yeah,
and like ownership, and even that stuff
mm,
might be sort of like heavy and it might have like negative connotations to me in my past. As soon as I take on the ownership of it,
yeah.
it feels like it's then been transmuted into something I can use as opposed to something that's shackling me to a memory or to the past.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's a good way of looking at it. That responsibility. So
Mm,
when people say there's a bit of a new age bullshit thing of you're responsible for everything that's happened to you, and if you get well, this one you might be. It was probably a bad example, but if you get punched in the face, you might be responsible for that, or at least partially. But uh, you might have led to
many
that
are, Sam.
in
Many
some
are.
way. But yeah, but you aren't you're not responsible if you got abused as a kid.
No.
That is not your responsibility.
Mm,
But you can, and it's a hard one, of course, and it comes up a lot, that sort of thing. But what you can do is you can put these things in the past with while acknowledging how serious and like sort of debilitating that they have been in your life, and then you can take responsibility to move forwards as yourself. Not saying it's always easy like that, and most while some of these things can, it can take a lot of sessions for things to resolve, or it can happen very quickly. And sometimes even the big traumatic things are easier to resolve than the small things, which are harder to find out what's causing the problem,
mm,
if that makes sense. But yeah, taking responsibility, feeling accountable, knowing that actually you can create your life, yeah, within the boundaries of natural law and the reality that we are incarnated in
mm.
is really key.
It's funny because before this conversation,
Mm,
I just checked you. I just thought, I wonder if this bastard's on fucking Instagram, and I checked you out,
yeah,
and I found your Instagram feed, and I mean you don't post on there, so it's been dormant for quite a while. But when I clicked on your latest post, I was like, oh, that's so perfect. And what it
Okay.
is, and I don't know if anyone could see this. In fact, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, in the edit, I'm going to get that it pulled into the screen.
Yeah.
But it's literally one of the characters from Scooby Doo, and she's pulling the mask off of the monster, and then it's you can see it's the same woman, right? So the
Yeah.
monster is us, right?
Yes. Yeah, that
And
is a
I,
good one. Sounds
yeah.
like you found a dip. That's not my current Instagram because I have been posting more
Oh, you
frequently.
have.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, sorry. We'll
That's
have
all right. But yeah,
we'll make
maybe
sure
I'll add that one on there.
your channels of communication will update when this goes out, just so people
Yeah.
can connect with you. But
Yeah.
I saw that, and I just thought it was so apt, because
Mm.
I feel in my own experience, right? I was in therapy from probably the late 19, early 20s. I went into therapy,
Yeah.
and
And this is the result.
this is the result. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the result. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here,
Great. Yeah.
and I felt to me like what where it felt like it was. Now looking back at it, of course, like I have respect for that process, right? I have
Mm.
respect for for what it taught me then, because at the time it seemed very, very important, and I did learn a lot of tools of coping with life, and so on and so forth. However, there was a part of me that it always felt that it was reinforcing the victim in me.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, I know there's such a wide spectrum of
Yeah.
therapies, right? But I'm talking about very traditional Freudian psychotherapy. And
Yeah.
what it felt like it was doing for me is that it was very much focused on characters in my past that had
Mm.
supposedly done me wrong, and I was the victim in all this big
Yeah.
wonderful theatre, fucking Shakespearean Romeo and Juliet play, and I was
Mm.
there in the going, oh, how, and
Yeah.
it fueled this feeling of not being in control, of not being
Yeah.
the architect of my own reality.
Yeah. We don't do that. So this is that therapy, those therapies, counseling, Freudian, Jungian, whatever, the talk therapies, if we call them the talk
Yeah,
therapies,
yeah,
they have a lot of value, definitely. And they can help people to understand themselves more.
mm,
And they can give people a good map. But what they're not doing is giving them the resolution unless they bring in additional tools.
mm,
So this with these the difference with that and tapping is that it actually helps you to discharge how you feel about the thing so you can
mm.
move on from it in a new way. And this, I remember like many years ago, I've been doing this 14 years now, but in one of my early years, maybe 2 or 3 years in, I remember someone came to me for a session and she said, I just feel like I've just done a whole year of counseling in one
Wow.
go. And just with how it had just and you don't really, it's not like I'm pushing like new beliefs or telling them what to do or anything like that. When you clear something away, it just gives them space for something new to drop in naturally. Their subconscious fills the gap. We can influence it with reframing stuff and let them see things differently. But the key is they're clearing away something that that's been running their life in a way for potentially years, maybe even longer. And once that's there, there's a vortex or vacuum. So of course, nature has to drop something in to take its place. Normally, something more positive and valuable.
Beautiful.
Mm.
I like that term, discharge.
Yeah,
Makes you sound like a bomb disposal unit.
in a way. Yeah,
And so there's that's the EFT side of things.
yeah.
How
Mm.
does that lend itself into the matrix reprinting?
So matrix reimprinting.
Yeah.
Well, that's using EFT. We're using tapping, and this was created by Carl Dawson, who he worked with Gary Craig. He trained with Gary Craig, one of the original they call them the EFT original masters or something. And yeah, and he loved EFT, still teaches it. But he came up with this method which enriches it, where you actually you're going with EFT, you'd be looking at the memory from the outside,
Mm.
and then you make it into a movie, and then you tap through the movie, releasing the emotional charge from yourself in that way. With matrix reimprinting, you actually you go in as your current self to help your younger self. So normally your child self, but it could even be yourself last year, last month, or whatever. So you go in and you help them you're talking with them, communicating with them. It feels like you've time traveled in. Some people visualize more easily than others, and some people have to have a bit of a leap of faith while they do it initially. But you're getting your resolution from the younger self rather than from you. So you go in and you like the client, if I call them that, they become their own coach or practitioner to their younger self and help them not to massively change the memory. They can do things like bring in a parent to talk about what happened um or to change some small things, bring in like something that might comfort them, like a teddy bear or something as examples. But what you're really helping them to do is release the belief that they formed about themselves when the moment happened.
Mm.
And then so that and then they another thing that happens here, perhaps you've heard of something called soul retrieval, which is like a shamanic way of
Yeah, I
working
have,
with
yeah.
parts that
I've
get
actually done it.
split. You've done it, yeah. So it's like I see it as a modern version of that. You're calling in the parts of your psychology and your psyche that had to split off to keep you safe during traumatic times, but then are still like running the show in a way by, yeah, reminding you of danger when there really isn't any in your current life and this
Mm.
kind of thing.
Wow,
But you're
yeah.
helping them to put that in the past and then yeah, and then and then you integrate them back into yourself with a sort of beautiful, colorful, energetic process that brings the younger self back into your own energy. And it's very powerful. So and you can also you don't just have to go backwards with it. You can future imprint as well. So you go in and create futures, and what you're doing with that is you're not attaching yourself to an absolute outcome that must happen, but you are getting into the feeling of what it would be like to have that outcome, and then imprinting that into your body, which of course then triggers all of the not good enough. I can't do that. How am I going to fuck it up, etc. And then you can work with all of that.
Mm.
So it's time traveling in a way,
Yeah.
and doing and some people have that experience. I had someone recently, and he realized that it felt like all the time through his younger life that his older self had come in to help at certain positions as well. So just a bit of magic there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel there's a great value in having faith in these things, right?
Mm,
In the unknown.
definitely.
We're so always wanting a tangible evidence to believe
Mm,
itself, and I feel like that really does. It almost disarms our wonderful weaponry of things like intuition and instinct and all the other stuff that we've got
yeah.
like tucked away that we've not accessed properly yet. And I feel like something like this, to me it feels. I always find myself to be a very pragmatic man, and it just
Mm,
seems very logical to me. That we are ultimately, fundamentally, we're energy, right? That's what we are.
absolutely. Yeah. I saw this lovely meme the other day, and it was all about how science has systematically dismantled all of the magic in the world until quantum physics or quantum mechanics, which has dismantled all the rationality and proved that everything's just magic after all.
Yeah. It's just pretty much where we're at, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And but of course, like I said at the start, I've got a lot of respect for people who are actually, so with EFT, for example, it started out, yeah, it was all acupuncture and emotion and feelings and ritual. But what they have been able to do, people have done brain scans and they've been able to see the brainwave states changing during tapping, that they're going into really deep brainwave states, which would normally be only accessible in deepest sleep while fully awake and conscious. And that's what I find really powerful.
Wow.
That's a powerful thing that you can take. I think I think it's Delta, like a super deep
Yeah, I think it
one,
is. Yeah.
and you can but go there. So I often find people, I take people back to the womb, to even they can go to ancestral patterns, past lives. I'm not making them go there. They end up there when I take them back using the emotions they're feeling. They get there themselves, but they're fully awake while they're doing it. So that's the beauty of it. Like you don't have to go into a trance to get there. And then you kind of forget about it when you come round from it a bit. You remember some. You're there, conscious, seeing it happen, going in and helping your embryo self to deal with energy that's coming from your parents, which you've got no concept of why it's there for, in the womb, so that they can resolve things like that as well. So yeah, a bit of a tangent there, as I want to do, but yeah, just that brainwave sort of understandings were great. Seeing how it actually does calm the amygdala and the hippocampus, so it's releasing people from their basic fear instincts and being able to access the cortex and have higher, more rational, objective ways of looking at things happening to them. So it's great all the science exists. I just um I just like the fact that it works anyway, and
Yeah.
whether you and little sort of sideline on that. I used to before I got into this, I was a financial advisor, and it was a non-resonant job with me, but I fell into it, and then I was networking with business people, like lots of them very rational um and logical people, and they didn't really, and they suddenly saw me from one week change from being the financial advisor in the networking group to being this weird sort of hippie therapist, right? And but they were curious and they wanted to see what I was up to, and so I'd worked with a lot of these, like yeah, very logical business people.
Mm.
And I remember one of them saying, "Oh, I don't think this is going to work. I'm very logical. I don't really visualize things very easily." And then in the session, he came out at the end. He was like, "It's like I was there. I could feel the rain on my face." And so it works. It often works for people, even if they don't believe in it,
Mm.
which is so it's not just faith-based as well. It has it can work for people even in that situation, which is
Sort of
cool.
the cynics.
Yeah, yeah, it's great for cynics. Yeah,
Yeah. Because I'm quite cynical when I go into any of these things. I think this
yeah,
that's my little
that's
voice
healthy.
tried to protect me.
Yeah,
I suppose the thing for me is I've had lots of people with around me have offered like different sort of techniques and stuff, and it always feels to me that I love being in my own control, right? Because
Mm,
I feel like I want to be like I want this self-healing ability of my own to be able to take control of my body and mind.
yeah.
But what you're saying is it's more that you are like a driving instructor as opposed to someone who is completely putting someone under and then I suppose guiding it in a way that there is perhaps a little bit of a story to it. This is more about what
Mm.
comes out of the person's mouth, which is then guiding the session from the first person as opposed to you.
Yeah, most of the answers will come from them,
Mm.
rather than me. And I might offer some reframes or a bad taste joke at an inappropriate moment or something like that
Yep,
to
yep,
trigger them. Yeah,
as you do.
and yeah, people actually really appreciate that, and they sit that can really help people. Humor's great because it doesn't just it's not just a laugh. It actually laughter's a universal thing among humans that we've all got. Not all of us, but most of us have, and it regulates. It's a great way of regulating your nervous system without things having to get heavy and serious.
Mm.
Even if you're dealing with heavy, serious shit,
Mm.
if you can laugh at it, it changes it. Doesn't mean we force that. It but it does but when it comes naturally or an insight causes that whoa to happen, then that's great. But again, I've diverted from the question you had, which is about, yeah, it was about the information coming from them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's coming from them. But I also just want to say some people are scared to even talk about their stuff because they feel shame, for example. They don't even want to own up to things that which probably aren't even that bad. They might be universal human things, but they've internalized it to mean I'm a terrible person
Mm.
or whatever. And and so I can work with people, guiding them to do it all in their head
Yeah.
as well. And I can just and almost never does someone actually not tell me anything, but it is possible to do this, just helping them to go through the process. They just tell me how they're feeling, and I guide them through processes, and normally until they're ready to share, if they wish to. But they don't. It's not like counseling where you have to spill the beans on everything.
Mm.
You can. It's more about getting in touch with the feelings, beliefs, and energy around stuff that happened.
And is that the same for meta consciousness and
Well,
German?
meta-consciousness is really a way of applying German New Medicine.
Right.
So
Could you
German New
just
Medicine
talk a
was
little bit
created.
about that for us?
Yeah, sure. I have a little bit with the stuff about the self-evaluation conflicts, the muscles, and everything.
Yeah.
But German New Medicine, created by Dr. Hammer, um, is a yeah, it's a system of really, or a more than a system. It's an understanding of the natural laws of biology, effectively, where you can see how different body tissues respond in different ways to specific biological conflicts, and then they have, in a stressful moment or after a stressful, shocking event, then the particular tissues in the body go into overdrive, either create more cells, create less cells to carry out a particular biological purpose. And then once that purpose has been achieved or resolved, which comes through a resolution, so some form of acceptance, which can be a good thing, like the thing has changed, it's no longer going to affect you, or it can be more like a shitty acceptance, like just resigned, just got to put up with this, whatever. Then the body goes into a healing phase. And while there's some symptoms in that, what we call the stress phase, the initial phase, or the active phase, there's also the a lot of the a lot of the physical symptoms that people feel really crap with, like feeling tired, sick, vomiting, diarrhea, things like eczema coming up, um, muscular skeletal pain, all these things, like a lot of them are happening when the body's trying to heal.
Dude.
And so that tends to be people go to the doctors to get something that deals with the symptom, which is the body trying to heal. For example, a steroid will actually push your body. You put a steroid cream on eczema, which is the body, the skin trying to repair from a separation conflict. It pushes it back in. That's not exactly the right technical way of describing it, but that's it. Like the eczema basically goes back in, but it's actually pushed the body chemically back into stress.
Mm.
So, and it's nuanced because there's times when it is the right thing as well or the medications can help people through things. It's not like they're always the wrong thing for someone to do. Um, because even, like extreme stress or extreme, like parasympathetic sort of healing state, these can be the times where people die because, we die at some point, and physically anyway. And medications can help you through those things.
But you
But
think a
yes,
lot?
but
I was
go
just
on.
going to say, a lot of the time with the medicines that you are given, a lot of the time that becomes psychological, though, doesn't it? Because you believe that you've been helped, and so then your body can fall into that feeling of being helped, and it's almost like there's a relaxation that comes over you.
Can be, yeah. I mean, obviously there's the placebo effect, which
Yeah,
is in many times is equally effective as a medicine. Bruce Lipton talks about a phenomenon where people get better on the way to the doctors when they know they're going
yeah,
to the doctors. And and it works the opposite way as well. If you have the I wrote an article or did a video on how on diagnosis, the danger of diagnosis, because if you get told you've got a serious disease by a man in a white coat, and they might deliver it hopefully with empathy and compassion, or but that's not always the case. It can be delivered in quite a harsh way. Then, if you really believe that,
It becomes
it's
a
called the
self-fulfilling
nocebo
prophecy.
effect.
Yeah,
Have
yeah,
you
yeah,
heard of the
yeah,
nocebo, the opposite of the placebo? And it can be really dangerous to
yeah.
get the shock of the diagnosis can then trigger something that is then perceived as even more serious.
Mm,
And yeah, and it might be seen as the symptom spreading in the body, whereas in fact it's a new shock that has led to the symptom happening.
mm,
Yeah. So that's German New Medicine. Although we've talked around it a bit. With meta consciousness, which is created by Penny Kroll, who's yeah, teacher, good friend of mine who I've been working with for a long time now. Um, she has evolved it, um, bringing in sort of some other elements as well. So really looking at the trauma side of things, and she viewing it more as like the body is not like, yeah, trauma is actually the specific responses that the body has to different things happening.
mm.
So understanding, for example, that the eczema is a separation conflict happening, it's showing you the specific type of trauma that someone experienced. So you can then use that information to track back and help them to resolve that. And then it's also bringing in things like the polyvagal techniques, the somatic techniques, using things like EFT as well to help people to resolve rather than just trying to logically resolve things or change your life or lifestyle to adapt. Because, yeah, let's say someone's job is making them sick. It's more complicated than that, of course, but they might not be immediately able to give up their job because they need to pay their bills, support their kids, whatever. They can be starting to plan to change things or move through it, but they might not immediately be able to just go, right, burn the bridge,
Mm.
off I go. So, but you can make peace with the situation that you're in and have a resolution that way.
Yeah. I think that's incredibly important because of the situation we find ourselves in on our
Mm,
clown planet at the moment. There is often lots of people who are tied, whether it's financially or whatever, into jobs or into lifestyles that they don't like.
mm,
Or, I find a lot of people I speak to are in relationships with someone who has completely got a different perspective on the whole pandemic as to have as
yeah.
they have,
Mm,
and their situation is so connected, whether it's financially or otherwise, that they're in this household and they've got this feeling of like, I really don't want to be here. So for me, it's sort of like, what's the option? Like, you put a tent on your back and fuck off,
mm.
or you try to find,
Total power. Yeah.
yeah, you try to find something in that situation that you can make peace with.
Yeah. And this, you can do that with these sorts of, you can certainly explore things and find ways to empower yourself in those situations. I have worked with people in a very similar
Mm,
situation to that. Um, yeah, and there's someone I was thinking of, and they were in particular worried that they were going to a family event, and that with the people of their family who were the most against and most unaligned with their views and had always been very vocal and vicious to them with the way they talked about these things. And through working through it in a session, which was a group session, and they very bravely talked through all this stuff in the group while we were tapping and exploring that. And then when they went and they actually had a really good time at the dinner, and it was a much more energetically connected. And because when you shift, energy shifts around you as well. So
I was
yeah,
just about to say that, like we
mm,
have a very sort of unique lens on how we see the world, right? So if we can change that lens of perception, then the reality does bend to that. Not always as we really, really desire it to, but it will definitely
yeah,
have some kind of effect, which makes it a lot more, I would say, a lot more easier for us to be able to continue to be the like, true to ourselves within that arena.
yes, yeah. And you can't, like you mentioned control earlier, but you said I like to be in control of my own body's healing or something like that. And control is a funny word for me. And I prefer the phrase to take charge
Oh, yeah.
is more empowering. But what you can actually take charge of or control is what's going on in you.
Mm.
You can influence what's going on around you.
Yeah.
You can control things for a while, but if it's involving other people, especially animals, even whatever, you can't really. Well, unless using extreme force, which we don't want to be doing, is you can't
Or
control what's going on.
manipulation, that's
Manipulation, sure, yeah, all these the gaslighting and the things that have happened around us, of course, like
mm.
micro and macro, when we see it. Um, yeah, but yeah, we don't want to control the world like that.
No,
No.
no.
So it's yes, but you can take charge of your responses and
Yeah.
respond rather than react. It's times when reacting is the right thing if it's dangerous. If in an emergency, reactions can save your life.
Mm.
Um, but normally it's better to respond, take that breath, and come to something in a that with that higher brain sort of moving you forwards in it in whatever way.
Yeah. To feel more calm, to be more centered, all of that stuff is very much
Yeah.
powerful in the way we answer to the stimuli that the external world chucks at us every day, isn't it? And there's a lot
Yeah.
of it at the moment, isn't
Well, yeah, definitely.
there?
And they're all great opportunities. Um,
Yeah.
and it's very easy, of course, in how we look at the world to get drawn into the doom and gloom. And it's important to be aware of what's going on. But yeah, I think that, really the it's great to be creating your life as you and realizing that you still have a huge potential to do that, even with those things going on. And acknowledging that some people are in much worse situations and don't have more limited capacity to do that. And it doesn't mean that you should not take the opportunities that you have to really create a beautiful, aligned life for yourself to the best of your ability.
Yeah, nicely put. I think that's one of the things that I feel about like in times of struggle, there's always great opportunity.
Mm,
It's just again, it's just how it's how you're looking at it, how you're framing that as to be, is this to be something that is like, oh my God, it's all over, or oh my God, is it all beginning?
yeah, yeah, that's the grub and the butterfly, caterpillar and butterfly example, isn't it?
Yeah.
Life's coming to an end, or is it just beginning?
Yeah.
So
So thank you, Sam. Before we go, can I just ask you, how do you see the world? Like, how do you feel about what's going on? Because I think it's an important question to ask anyone who comes onto this platform.
yeah, I mean, well, have we got another 2 hours? Or... Well, it's amazing, isn't it? Because, as we've alluded to in this, it's all energy, it's all frequency, and there's things playing out, which can feel very scary, dangerous, and in many ways are. And there is, and ultimately, well, it might all go back to being one at some point in the current way of experiencing things. There's an adversarial energy to deal with,
Yeah,
and so we are living through that, and we none of us actually know how it's going to work out. So I think awareness is key. Acceptance that yes, this is happening, not denying, not being a reality denier,
yeah,
as they call them. And yeah, but there is all sorts of 3D dodgy shit and 4D and 5D and probably all the D's dodgy shit going on out there. But you can, you are powerful.
Mm.
You're actually really, really powerful. And your perception and how you respond to things is the way through this for you. Um, and being in community is beautiful. It's one of so do we just look at the pandemic like that was intended to divide everyone, and it did in some ways. But as you know, around here and in certain areas around the world, it brought people more together, increased community, enriched community, continuing to wake more and more people up to the what's going on. And actually that then there's a process there of being angry, being upset, feeling fear, feeling despondent, right the way through to being empowered and realizing just, what your potential and opportunities are. Um, I'm a bit lost here because it is such a huge question,
He's
you said, but yeah, but so well, whatever it is, we're going through it, and then you as an individual um have choices within that, and yeah, and being aligned, connecting to your own intuition and making decisions from that point is key.
Mm.
And the sorts of things we've been talking about today can help with that. Now, the other day we talked about chemtrails, didn't we?
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah,
And you
yeah.
said they don't affect me, and I was like, "Yep, me neither,
Yeah.
not at all."
Well, I
And
think I said I'd like to go out there and snort them, is what I said, didn't I?
yeah, well,
And
hold
and,
on,
and
right.
you and you said something
Greedy,
about that
yeah.
you would have a fucking a Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi's for
router,
breakfast.
yeah, a
Yeah,
Wi-Fi router on toast.
yeah, something along those lines. And yeah, and when I've worked with people on these areas, like the fear is the biggest killer here.
Yeah.
The fear and the belief of what it's doing to them
Mm.
is it's not, yeah, you don't want to be shout. Maybe I don't want to eat a whole bowl full of like aluminium and barium or whatever, but
Mm.
yeah, the fear of it is much worse than the actual effect that it's having on the physical level.
Yeah.
And so through empowering yourself in that way, there's always be your body is just it's cleansing itself all the time.
Mm.
You don't need they can help to do a juice fast or a cleanse or whatever. That can help if you're in a sluggish way, but it's naturally is releasing things. And yeah, so you can so just trusting your body, trusting its intelligence, and like not being scared of this stuff and just being curious, seeing what is possible. We don't know how it's going to work out, but a lot of people think they do. A lot of people are like, someone who I knew, he was always saying, "Oh, it's baked into the plan now," and all these things. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not so sure that's going to happen." And then it didn't happen, and didn't happen, and didn't happen. But yeah, so the fear is used, of course.
Yeah.
Like the fat controllers or whatever you want to call them are yeah they understand the nature of reality at some level,
Mm.
probably at a very deep level, and so they use people's creative ability and intelligence and ability to bring things into reality through the spell casting of the news, for example, to get people to believe things and then actually embody them to happen.
Mm.
More complicated than that, I'm sure, but that's a way that you can see that it's your creative ability. If you're giving it the attention to their things, it would be much better for you if you're using your creative ability to create your thing,
Mm.
basically.
Like I've said it loads of times as well, and as a man of logic, like I think to me straight away, it was like, why would they spend so much creating this very constrained reality
Mm,
that poisons us, that keeps us within this very low ebb of our potential? Why would they do that? To me, the obvious reason is because they're trying to suppress parts of us that are incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to break out of that illusion, and a lot of us are
Yeah.
starting to feel it and going, "Oh my fucking god, this is fun,"
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And there's times when it all changes and feel like, yeah, of course, because we go through the whole range of emotions. Sometimes it does all feel too much, overwhelming, got to deal with some government stuff or whatever. But yeah, but overall, yeah, I think the trajectory is, I think it's great and it's a choice.
Mm,
And maybe one thing that has been talked about a lot is the splitting, isn't it? Where
yeah.
some people will go one way and
Mm.
some will go another way. And I don't even think that's a final destination for those. There'll still be some interplay around that
Oh
process
yeah,
going on.
hopping back and forth.
Popping
Depend-
in, yeah, pop in from yeah,
Just gonna go back
whatever,
and have a
yeah.
can of Stella and a line, and then I'll jump back over there and have some fucking green tea.
Now you're talking. Yeah, so
All right, Sam, mate,
yeah,
thank you very much. That's been really, really, really interesting for me personally because it's really brought a very lovely, obviously general for now, but like a very lovely understanding about what you do and the techniques and stuff that you use. So the next question, mate, is how can people find you?
right, yeah, okay. So people can find me um so they can email me at sam@eftnow.co.uk. That's also my website, eftnow.co.uk. I will provide a link. I talked earlier about yeah, basically I've got a free video course to teach people the basics of tapping to quite a good level.
Oh yeah,
Hundreds of people have done that course already, and quite a few of them have got back to me and said they've been able to just resolve some stuff on their own with that. So
nice,
that's really nice. So I'll give you that link. And yeah, and there's also a link people can, if they do want to explore working with me on their on physical, psychological symptoms or creating something in their life or whatever, then they can book a free call with me. We talk about it for 20, 30 minutes and see whether it feels right for them.
lovely. And just so people know, if you didn't hear like hear that clearly, what Sam said is that we'll include all of the links and everything as well, so you can find him
Yeah.
as easy as you can.
Cool.
Sam,
Yeah.
thank you, mate. Really appreciated that.
Yeah, likewise. It's been great chatting. And yeah, I mean, if you ever if you're willing guinea pig, we could do a session on here sometime, and so people can see what it's like.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I mean, I am nervous, but that usually is a good signal for me. Is that I want to break
Yeah,
through that that the comfort of being. Oh no, I don't want to do that.
yeah,
So yeah, let's do it.
yeah. Nice.
We'll arrange that.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah, and no, you don't have to play the recording if you don't want to.
Yeah, I have that
It's
luxury.
your show. Yeah.
All right, brother. All the
All
best.
right. Nice one.
Cheers, Sammy.
Awesome.
Bye,
See you
mate.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.